going to talk a little bit about different communication styles, preferences, and just help you figure out what your communication style is. Give us a little bit of an overview about communication styles.
In our networking group, we do icebreakers every week. And the question of the day was, do you prefer a phone call or a text? And I thought it was really insightful. It tells you a lot about the people that you're working with or the people that you are communicating with, whether it's in a dating scenario, online dating, especially, it can be really impactful. And it can be a conversation that I feel like people should have early on.
Tell me more about this.
So I was texting with someone online, and at one point during the conversation, the man that I'm communicating with said, I really prefer to text. He said that if he has a phone call with someone and it tends to get too lengthy, he finds himself checking his watch to see how long it's been. He's just not a phone talker. And I thought that was really interesting because I really like and prefer to talk on the phone or have a FaceTime chat, especially in the early stages of dating, because I think it tells you a lot about the person. And I think it tells you a lot more than you can get from a text conversation because text can be misconstrued really easily.
Do you think that communication styles, preferences are different for men and women?
I do. I think there are a lot of men out there who do prefer to text. Even if it's a 30-second FaceTime to say goodnight or to say good morning, I do really feel like that face to face contact is really important for me and something that I want in a relationship. But knowing what that person's communication style is and finding a healthy balance, I think is still possible. If that person prefers to text throughout the day, I think it's completely appropriate to be able to do that and then to satisfy my need by having that quick 30-second conversation that gives me reassurance, I guess, that they are who they say they are.
So I actually really love this topic. I hate texting. We did our love lesson with Dan Silverman from Better Dating Services. He was talking about using emojis as a flirting technique in digital flirting, and I'm like, no, totally not me. But it is a skill that can be learned, and I would argue that maybe even talking on the phone or having a conversation is also a skill that can be tweaked and learned. And maybe once you've mastered it, you might actually enjoy it. Like I used an emoji the other day and it was not the worst thing. What advice would you have for someone that has a very distinct communication style in relationships?
I do think it's a conversation you should have early on. I do believe that it has helped me to understand that person a little bit better. And I actually agree with what Dan said about emojis also when it comes to texting, because in another conversation, I said to a gentleman I was talking to, I need more emojis. Like I need more emotion behind your words because I wasn't feeling that connection. And he just wasn't an emoji user, and that's okay. But when I would talk to him in person, I felt that connection. But when he was texting, I felt no connection. It just felt very cut and dry. The messages were very short and curt, and it came off to me as a real put off. And I feel like it's definitely a conversation you need to have early on because, yeah, if you need that to feel affirmed in your relationship, and it could be with your spouse, it could be with a long time relationship person in your life, it could be with a family member even. You need to let them know what your needs are, what your communication style and preferences are, so that hopefully you guys can meet in the middle and satisfy that need, for that other person in your life.
We did a love lesson on the impacts of social media on dating. And we don't often think about texting and things like that as a communication style, but this technology piece has really pushed us towards a short form communication style. One of the tips that we suggest in that love lesson is putting down your phone and finding time in real life to have a conversation, have an experience, and just talk about your day. But if you are in the early dating phase, that might be a challenge. How
Well, I think you can do it in the early stages of dating very similar to how you do it in your relationship if you've been with someone for a long time, and I think you just have to plan for it. I think almost planning for it like a date would be something that you could do if you aren't able to spend in person time with someone over the course of several days and you're early in your dating relationship, and you might need a phone date, you might need a FaceTime date, and aren't there apps out there now where you can watch the same movie at the same time in your different households? If you can't be together on the couch and enjoying that movie, or go to the movie theater together to enjoy time together, maybe that's something you could do for yourself, and create that virtual date of sorts, and make sure that you are truly connecting in a way that isn't just through text.
I think the other thing you're talking about here is being intentional about your communication style. And for a lot of people, communication style could be a deal breaker, but it doesn't have to be. What you are saying is to be intentional about the communication style, about how you're communicating, about honoring your partner's preferences in communication for the good of the relationship.
Well, and let's be honest, if you can't do that for that person early on in the relationship, you're never going to accommodate your partner. And so it might not be the right fit. Maybe it's time to move on. Make it one of those questions that you ask early on, and a conversation that you're willing to have.
If you've gotten some value out of this today, please subscribe to our channel, hit the thumbs up. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the future so we can continue to bring you great content.